There is a lot of peer pressure from social media, there's a lot of peer pressure from all these things, and we don't have the right education about what these things mean. We might get addicted to these things and end up wasting our lives, wasting our destinies, because once you start taking drugs, for sure you have wasted your future. Hello and welcome back to Cactus Advent. Here at Cactus Advent, we are true to who we are, therefore reminding you to be you, to be unique, and to be better. Hey, what's up my good people? Today in this series I'll be talking about drugs and substance abuse. Ni kitu imechukua mayouth wengi, na imagine Nakada you'll find that 1 in every 6 Kenyans is at least using one drug, and you'll find also that 1 in every 3 males is using at least one drug or substance abuse, and 1 in every 16 females are using at least one drug. So you see, this problem has affected men a lot. Men are those who are prone, and men, we know, men make up society. These are the productive people. These are people who carry generations forward. And that's why as a channel we talk about these things, because they do happen and they are there in the real world. And today we'll be looking at what is the definition of drugs and addiction, and then we'll be looking at some of the misconceptions surrounding this thing. So to begin with, a drug is any substance when inhaled or ingested to the body. It alters your mood, your perception, or your physiochemical composition in your body, and it affects mostly the brain and the neuron part of your body. And I would like you to differentiate between drug and food, because most people are ignorant or are hypocritical about it. And I've said that a drug is anything when ingested or taken into the body, it affects the brain or the nervous system, and it alters your mood, it alters your perception when ingested. And addiction, on the other hand, is a complex disease which involves the brain. The burning desire to continue using a drug or substance, although you are experiencing negative effects which are detrimental to your body, but you continue using that something, although you want to stop but you can't. So it's like you lack willpower. So you know this thing is harmful to your body, but because you don't have, you can't stop, like it's past when you wanting to stop. And today we are going to look at some of the misconceptions that people say that surround drugs. So the first misconception is that marijuana and jab ama cut are natural and therefore not harmful. Na kulikuwa na hii debate ya juzi, ya mremember, mnakumbuka ile stuff ya Muguka Mombasa, watu walikuwa nasema these things are natural and not harmful, but the reality is that these things are harmful in the long run. Yes, people may not see the initial effects in the short term, but in the long term these things are detrimental in the long term. That's a reality, like their effects. Then there is this another effect where people say if I smoke or drink just the right amount, it won't affect me. But the reality is, even if you use just a small amount and you repeat it over a long period of time, it becomes a problem, because you can find yourself addicted. And you know, there is no right amount of drug. Once you ingest, there is effect on your body. And another one that I see that is so famous, people saying a drug is dependent on a person. Ukipata inakusaidia vizuri, wewe tumia. Na ukipata haikusaidii vizuri, achana nayo. But the reality is that drugs do not help in any way. Their work is only to destroy. And once you accept that reality, you'll get up from that mantra, because it doesn't choose who you are. It doesn't care who you are. It will affect you whether you believe it or you don't. And another one that I see that is so famous is that I've been using drugs for the longest and I don't feel any effect. And this is where people want to defend that wananiambia hii kitu iko na madhara yoyote na mimi sioni kinidhuru. But the truth is that if you continue using it, it will affect you. And although the consequences may not be so clear at the beginning, over long periods of time tutakupata pale Kenyatta ukiwa na lung cancer ama ukiwa na liver cirrhosis, unaona. Another one that I see is that illicit drugs are more harmful than legal ones. But the truth is that Illicit drugs, yes, are dangerous, but also legal ones are even dangerous as well. Talk about tobacco today. Don't you know? By the way, mshaijua gari ya sigara ikipeleka sigara to a depot inaendanga na askari juu people addicted to that point. Imagine. And also alcohol today, hii ndo kitu inasumbua watu wengi today, like our society, our youths are so useless in this mantra kwa sababu wanatumia alcohol. And another one that I see is that my life, my choice. You know, like drug is my personal choice. It doesn't affect those people who are around me. But you see, that's not true. Once you start using drugs, it affects your social circle. It affects those people who are close to you. It affects your family. It affects your workmates, and it affects everyone because we are social beings, and there's no way you can be using drugs and it doesn't affect the other people, and it doesn't help people in the right way. It usually affects people in the wrong way. And another one that I see is that all drugs are the same. All drugs are the same. There's no difference. But the reality is that all drugs are not the same. We have depressants, we have stimulants, we have hallucinogens, and once you continue taking them, they produce different effects. And another one is that a drug only affects the user, but as we have seen there before, drugs affects the people who surround you with, because once you start using drugs, you withdraw from your support systems, you withdraw from church, you withdraw from people who are supposed to help you, and you have other people who use the same thing. And as the Bible says, how can two work together unless they agree? How can someone who is using drugs get along with someone who is not using? So you see, drugs affect the people around you. And another one that I see is that you can build tolerance to drugs, and therefore it can be safe for you to use. And this one is a very sad one. You can build a tolerance towards drugs, and there they become safe for you. This is why unapata mtu anaweza kunywa hata mzinga peke yake, na yeye juu ashafikia level anasema for me it's safe, but it's not safe. And I would like to remind you of this guy who had that tolerance. We know him today as 999 Juice WRLD. And you remember on that tragic day on December, what happened in Chicago Midway Airport. You know, despite having a high tolerance, that day he took the same drugs he used to take for a long time. He had a seizure, and you know, he ended up dying. So no matter how one may glorify it, you know, tolerance is a very bad thing, because you're always there on the edge that you can overdose anytime. And once you overdose, you die, my friend. And I'm sure youths are not supposed to die in their youths. They're supposed to take their time. So those are some of the misconceptions about drugs. So join me in the next episode as we'll be looking at the misconceptions surrounding addiction. And this is where I find a lot of people are trapped in. So all has been heard, all has been said. Now the question remains, when will you accept this absolute truth? Join me next week as we continue this mind-blowing conversation right here.